Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for another FM Academy webinar. Today we have an exciting webinar for you. We have Jerry Salem from IT Solutions who will be presenting on the starter solutions. Jerry is going to show you some examples of extending the starter solutions and also integrating the starter solutions together. Jerry is an IT solutions consultant, FileMaker developer, and PhD, and has been working with FileMaker for a long time and provided solutions of all kinds to our clients. And so without further ado, help me welcome Jerry, and Jerry, take it away.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone, and welcome back, or if this is your first FileMaker Academy, welcome. I hope to show you a little bit about the starter solutions that come with FileMaker Pro, and also show you how to extend those solutions in order to make them more useful and teach you a little bit of something along the way about using FileMaker Pro. Let's get started. You probably already realized, but FileMaker Academy is a group of FileMaker consultants from around the country. 360works, Anvil, DataWorks, IT Solutions, we're in the East Coast, Fiddlehead and KeoLogic, Mighty Data, and Skeleton Key. We come together on a monthly, more or less a monthly basis, to try and educate the world about FileMaker and how to use FileMaker. First thing I'd like to talk about is whenever you're starting a new project or even a new module inside of a project, where to begin? That's always the most difficult part of anything. With a database, you have lots of choices. Do I start with an Excel spreadsheet, schema? Do I build the fields first? Do I build the layouts first? What about the tables? Do I have to start designing the tables? And of course, the question about drawing an ERD, do I need to do something like that? There seems to be many different choices, many different places where you can start to build your database. I always like to say, just start, just build it. This can be difficult, but FileMaker Pro does give us a place to start with the starter solutions. This is a group of FileMaker files which are already inside your copy of FileMaker Pro that you can use to accomplish a number of tasks. There's a lot of great things about these starter files. First off, they really do look nice. They're also a great learning tool. You can learn by example. How did someone do something? Also, most of the brunt work is already done. If you're building a contact management database, you need to keep track of people. There's no need for you to create a new file that has first name field, last name field. All this work is already done, and you can use the starter solutions as a great starting point. There are some small drawbacks. Of course, not everyone does things the way you want to do things. And that's true of these starter solutions. Maybe your particular situation would require you not to be able to use these solutions right out of the box as they are. So you might need to modify them a little bit. You will definitely have to modify them a little bit. For some of the techniques in there, maybe you don't understand how they're done, and maybe it's a little bit above your head and you need a little bit more hand-holding. Finally, by and large, these are really nice, well thought out databases. I haven't found any mistakes, but I'm sure there might be some bugs floating around in them. So there are some small drawbacks where you might still need to put a little bit of blood, sweat, and tears into your database. Today, what I'd like to do is review what the starter solutions are, maybe look at a couple of them, and show you how you can take pieces of starter solutions and combine them together to make your database a better piece of work. And also, and finally, at the end of the talk, I'd like to show you some enhancements that I like to add to to all of my databases, just small little things that will help your users or help you use your database a little bit more efficiently. Well, first, FileMaker 12 has totally rewritten their starter solutions for us. These are really a great place to start, even if you've used FileMaker before and if you've been using FileMaker for a long time, because they have taken the time to completely rewrite all of the starter solutions. These are brand new. They don't look anything like the starter solutions that came with FileMaker 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. They take advantage of many of the new features in FileMaker 12. So even for the experienced FileMaker developer, I encourage you to look at these starter solutions because you'll get a look at some of the new things that you can do that are really quite impressive. The starter solutions can be used no matter what your purpose, whether you're in business, in education, or just personal organization of your information. In the starter solution dialog box in FileMaker, they do separate them out into business and education, but by all means, you should look at all of them. The starter solutions come in basically 3 flavors. There's some very simple ones, the assets, the contacts, and products. These starter solutions are basically one-table starter solutions. It's a list of assets. But from that, you can see in the layouts nice ways to organize your information. There are the next group of starter solutions are a little bit more complicated. These are 2, maybe 3-table solutions. Meetings, research notes, and projects are some examples of those. In the meetings, there's a table of meetings, and then there's a separate table for information about each meeting. So you can have notes, multiple notes about a meeting. And for projects, you can have a project header, like a name for a project, and then a list of tasks that can be completed underneath that project. So these are sort of middle-of-the-road types of solutions that you can use. Finally, the last 2 are a little bit more complicated. They have roughly 5 tables in each one. There's invoices and event management. There's also a third one for estimates, which is essentially the same thing as invoices. These are very robust. They contain, for instance, the invoices starter solution. It has a section for customers, a section obviously for invoices, and another section for products. So you can create invoices that contain products that you can sell to your customers. These are all found inside FileMaker Pro. Oops. And let me show you where you can find them. I'm going to move over to FileMaker Pro. This is FileMaker 12, of course. When you first open the database, you'll usually find this Quick Start screen. This is actually really useful. I've started to use this a lot. Right in the middle is a list of the recent files that you've been opening. And you can also have favorite files. And those are put in by hand using this Manage Favorites. I'm getting off the topic. The starter solutions you can find right in this section to use a starter solution. You can click on this button, and they're listed right here. Here's the Invoices starter solution. Here's Product Catalog. And here's the Research Notes. When you choose one, it asks you where to save your file. I'll save it in my Starter Solution Talk folder. And then it opens it up for you. I would encourage you after the talk to look around and save each one of these to your desktop and give it a spin. See what it looks like. For today's talk, we're going to go to the Invoices starter solution. I'm going to open it right now. When you first open one of these starter solutions, they come with no records. There's nothing in it. It's just they're empty tables. I've taken the liberty of importing some information. This is just random information, make-believe data that I found on the internet. If you go to Brian Dunning's website, he's got a couple of really nice tables of information for customers and products and things like that that you can download. I always like to import fake information into a database that I'm building. It gives me more of an idea of the performance of the database. Right now I have 15,000 customers in the database, and it gives a better feel for how things are going to work. So right now we're in the Invoices database, and if we go to the layout drop-down, we can see there's already some type of organization for us. There's a company info, there's a bunch of desktop layouts, and they're organized in groups using the separators. This is already a great technique for you to copy in your own solutions. We'll go to the company information screen. Here, if this was a real Invoices database for my company, I would put my company name, header. This is another nice touch they've done in this, which I would recommend you do for your databases. Some instruction on the screen. I can put my logo here. I don't need to label it a logo, but there's a label inside the field that tells me that my logo goes there. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to insert a picture. Libraries, pictures, logo. I'll put our logo in there, and then we can exit. Navigating through the starter solutions is done using this drop-down right here. I can view the customers. We can move over to the products table, and when you do that, using a script trigger, I'm now taken to the products table. There are 3,000 products in the database. Another nice use of script triggers is this secondary drop-down where I can sort by manufacturer. I can sort by category. I'm going to click on one of the products. Here's where the product details go. Here's the category field. Here's the manufacturer. Here's the item. Oh, this big white space over here is for an image of the product. Right here, you'll notice this is one that I particularly like. When you hover over some of the icon buttons, it tells you exactly what the button does. So you shouldn't, your users or your customers, depending on the type of developer you are, shouldn't have to guess what a button does. So this one has a little arrow on it, and it tells me if I click on this, I can export this data. And this one is for deleting my image because it's attached to the image. I click back here. Notice this was where the selector button was. They have consistency across all their layouts, another good thing to learn. To go back to my product list. And let's go to Invoices. Here's a list of all of our invoices. Notice there are two drop-downs for sorting. I can sort by company. This is another nice reason to keep a lot of data, a lot of sample data in your database. It's definitely worth putting in. Gives you an idea of how long it takes to do these finds and sorts. And I just want to show the unpaid. I only have one unpaid invoice. Good for me. Let's go back to customers. So on the customer's detail screen, you see information about the customer, and there's invoice information on the right-hand side, the unpaid invoices and the paid invoices. Let me go back to the slideshow for just a second. There. In our first project, what we're going to do is we're going to take this Invoices database that that I was just showing you, and we're going to add two enhancements to it. The first one is the contacts file, and the second one is the personnel file. What we're going to do is, remember, in the invoices file, there are companies. However, each company is a single record. This is fine for a consumer business. Maybe you sell seashells at the seashore to individual people. But if you have a more B2B company, a business, maybe you're selling products to a business, and each one of those businesses is made up of multiple people. So we're going to add the contacts file so we can keep track of different people within our customer companies. After that, the second thing we'll do is we're going to be a little forward-thinking about our company, and we're going to incorporate the personnel files. Maybe our company doesn't have more than one employee right now, but hopefully someday it will have more employees, and I want to be able to have a record for each one of my employees. So let's go back to our starter solution. I'm going to go and open the customer file, the contacts file. Open. Now I've already opened it and I've saved it to my local desktop. And it's called contacts. Here it is. So what I want to do is for each company, for example, Bedwick Jones, right now it has just one person. I want to be able to keep track of multiple people for this company. So what we're going to do is go over to contacts, and we need to have a field in the contacts file that indicates what company each contact comes from. So I'm going to go File, Manage Database. Now you'll notice in the contacts table, in the contacts file, it's a simple one-table solution. And here's the field that I'm going to add. This is my foreign key, and I'm following the standard FileMaker conventions right here, where the name of the field is _KF, meaning it's a foreign key, and I'm calling it company ID. So this is the placeholder for the company ID for each individual record. So I've added that inside the contacts file. Now I have to go back to the invoices file, and we have to incorporate that. We have to point out this invoices file to our new file. So we're going to go back to Database, to Relationships, and what we would do is we would add a table, go to Add FileMaker Data Source, because it's a FileMaker file. Select the contacts file and say OK. I'm going to say Cancel because I've already done it. And once you do that, you'll have the contacts file right here under the current file. And inside this contacts data source is our table. And when you add it to the relationship graph, you give it a name, and the name I'm going to give it is Customer Contacts right here. And this also follows our FileMaker convention that the first name in the table occurrence is the base file, which is customer, followed by the name of the actual table, which is the contacts table, and that's all caps. That's my visual indication that this is a contacts table occurrence, and it's connected to the customer. So this is what builds the bridge from the invoices table into the contacts table. Now, let's put that on the layout. I'm going to go from Browse mode. I'm going to go into Layout mode. And the first thing I'm going to do is, if we really think about it, well, I need to put a portal on here. For right now, I'm going to take off this information. You would maybe call this the primary contact for a company, but we're going to remove it right now just to make some room. And I'm going to go to the inspector, and on this website field, I'm going to fix the corner radius to curve. Whoops. It's not letting me do that. Okay. And then let's take this information, undo. Revert. I'm going to revert that change because I moved something. Discard. Yes. Okay, let's do that again. Get rid of those guys. And we're going to save that. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm taking this box that's behind the screen, that's on the layout, and I'm just going to lock it right now so I don't accidentally move it. There. And I'm going to take all this stuff and I'm going to move it up. There. And move that up. Next, we're going to add a portal. And this is going to be our connection from this company to our contacts. So we're going to show our related information in this portal, customer contacts. And we're going to show 4 rows. As it walks me through the portal, pardon me, the wizard, here are the fields that I can show. What we're going to show is the first name and a last name field. Let's go back here. I want to show the vertical scroll bar because maybe I have more than 4 people associated with this company. There, and I'm going to take this, make this just a little bit smaller, and let's go into browse mode to take a look at our work. There. Let me go back to Manage Database for just a moment, and I want to talk about the relationship that we created from customers to contacts. The relationship is based on the customer ID from our customer table, which is the company number, and then our company ID. And for this demonstration, I've checked off this checkbox, allow creation of records in the foreign table using this relationship. This will let me to simply type in the name in the portal, and it will create the record over in the contacts file. So here I are on Bedwick and Jones. I'm going to add a new employee to Bedwick and Jones. Oops, and we're going to call him Mark Adler. Congratulations, you have a new job, Mark. There, yeah. Well, that's great. I just added someone to this company. Oh, I think I'll add somebody else too. Bridget Jones. Well, I want to see those records now. How do we do that? What we're going to do is we're going to build a button that will take us from the company file, pardon me, the company record, right over to our contacts. Let's go back into layout mode. And we're going to build a button. Build a button by using the button widget up in the toolbar. There, I'm going to make it the same height as the other things. And what we're going to do this button is going to go to related records. So it's going to go to the related record from this portal, Customer Contacts. This is the name of the portal, and that's the related record that we want to show. Next is the part that you might not be familiar with if you're used to working with a single file solution. We're going to show record using a layout, but not from the current file. We're going to use the external tables layouts, which means use the layouts from the contacts file, not from our invoices file. When I use this check mark and I select layout, I see all the layouts that are in the contacts table. So I'm going to use contact details. So when I click on this button, it's going to show me the related contact using the contact detail button. And I'm going to show it in a new window. Actually, it's in another file, so I don't need to show in a new window. And I want to match just the current record. Now our button, I'm just going to say the word go there, and let's just move it up so it looks a little nice. There we go. So, and notice, since I used the button widget to just draw my button, just for free, I get the nice hover effect that FileMaker gives us. I don't have to draw it myself. And we're going to click. My rule of thumb, actually, I'd like to go to Mark's record, but I'm going to click on Bridget Jones's record. My rule of thumb is always use the second thing in the list or the third thing, just to make sure that it's going to the proper record. You might be fooled by using the first one. Maybe your sort is different, or there could be something going on. So I'm going to click on Bridget Jones by clicking this go right here, and poof, there it is. Here's my Bridget Jones record inside my contacts file. Let me minimize, take that out of full screen. I'm going to close that guy, and let's go to Mark's record. And here we are, Mark Adler's record. So let's talk about the contacts file just a little bit. You'll notice that this file already tells me that Mark works for Bedwick & Jones Printing. How did we do that? Well, this involves touching both files. We created our anchor, our foreign key inside contacts. If you remember, we're going to go to Manage, Database. And here's our field, Company ID. This is the thing that links us to our invoices file. We also need to build a relationship inside the relationships table from contacts to the company. So this you build exactly the same way by adding the table, adding the data source, and then when you do that, you'll notice you can see all the different tables inside the invoices file, but you pick the customers file and then select the key field. And we've named it again with our convention, so it's Contact Company. So now that we've done that, what I've done is in the original file, this was a field called Company that was in the contacts database. I removed that, and I simply replaced it with the related field coming from our invoices file. Notice the 2 colons in the front of the name. And if we click on it and then look in the inspector, you can see Contact Company, Company. In addition, since we've created a way to navigate from our invoices file to the contacts, it would be nice to navigate back from the contact back to the company. To do that, I've used a motif actually that I've learned from one of my clients. What they do is they put an underline underneath the label of the field. Now, this is a visual clue to your users. An underline is reminiscent of a hyperlink. So this underline is my visual clue that if I click on it, it will and it took me to the company file. Here, let's go to another file, and I'll show you that again. So here I am at the Jones Company, and we're going to say Barry Bond and Charlie Can. And we're going to go to Charlie's record. I'm looking at Charlie's record. I'm deciding that I know his title, blah, blah, blah. Now I want to navigate back to the company file. I click on here, and it takes me back. Let's go back. Now, we do this exactly the same way. We're going to go into layout mode, and I'll show you how we did it. Layout mode, double-click on the company, and it's go to related records using the contact company relationship, which is the same ship as the field right down here, using the external tables layouts, and the layout is the customer detail layout. And that's it. This creates the round trip. It's always an important idea when you're building navigation to think about the round trip. I'm looking at somebody, I go to the company record, and I want to go back to that person. It's a round trip. How's everybody doing out there? Okay, good. I hear you all nodding. So why did we want to do this? The reason we wanted to do this is because now we can take our invoices and we can relate an invoice not only to a company, but to a person inside that company. I'm going to create a new invoice. And this creates a new invoice for Herman. Now, maybe I want to have a new field down here to indicate maybe the shipping to person. So let's do that. Now, right now, this part of the invoice layout has just the company and then the related information about that company. The customer name, now remember that's from the first name and last name field that I deleted from the layout. So we really should follow through to this point of the invoice. So what we need to do is add another hook. We're going to go to the Invoices file. And I need to add a place to store the name of the ship-to person. So I'm going to create a new field. This one I didn't do ahead of time. So it's going to be a foreign key, underscore foreign key, and we're going to call it ship-to ID. And it's going to be a number field. So there's my brand new foreign key. Now we're going to go to Invoices, go to the relationship graph, and here's Invoices. And what I want to do is add a relationship from an invoice to the contacts table so we can select someone to ship to. I'm going to go to this table occurrence, and I'm going to duplicate it. We're going to move it over here. First thing I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to rename it so I don't get confused. This is customer underscore invoice underscore contacts. This tells me as the developer that customer is the base table right over here, from customer to invoices, finally to contacts. And just as a reminder, and contacts is caps because that's the base table. And I'm going to put just as a reminder to me, the ship to right here. Make it a little bit wider. And we are just going to pull anything over. So from an invoice the ship-to ID, when the ship-to ID is equal to the contact person. Now, in this file, the ID is contact ID matching field. See, just like that guy. Let's say OK. And we'll say, now let's make that smaller just so it doesn't take up as much room. And we'll say OK. And we're going to change this field here. Instead of customer name, go to Invoices, and we're going to put ship-to ID. And I'm going to go to, and I'm going to label it. There. And we're going to change this to a pop-up menu. And so now we need to create a value list for the contact people. And this is going to be contacts. And we're going to use values from a field. And we're going to display the full name, contact name. And we're only going to show the related information from customer. So this will only show the people that are with that company. There. And we will also make sure that we can enter into that field so we can select it. Phew. And right now, I forgot there's a checkbox that says only show the second value, and I forgot to check that off. There. So let's go fix that. Manage, value lists, contacts, show only values from the second field. Because I really don't care Barry Bonds' customer ID is 5,000 or whatever, but I do care that I'm shipping this product to Barry Bonds, not Charlie Chan. So now what I've done is I've incorporated into the Invoices file a way to keep multiple contacts for each company, and I've created a way for an invoice to assign an invoice to a company and a ship-to person, which is based off of that new file. So this takes our starter solution and enhances it, makes it hopefully more useful for your particular needs, if you need the ability to keep track of people inside of a company. So let's go to the second part of this integration, and that is employees. So we're going to go open a new starter solution. And this is personnel records. So I'm going to open up my personnel records, and I'm going to save it in the same folder as my invoices and my contacts. If you were probably doing this using FileMaker Server, in which case you would save these files on the server machine. And you would probably put this together before you put everything up on the server. I'm going to create my personnel records, and here's personnel records. So the first thing we need to do is, just like with our contacts database, we need a way to assign each person in personnel to the company. Oh, actually, we don't need to do that because everyone is working within our own company. But what I would like to do is assign for this invoice person, which comes from my list of personnel. So the way we would do that is I've created my personnel file. Let's create a new field which is going to hold the salesperson ID. So that's also a foreign key. Person ID. And it's going to be a number. Create. Now on this invoice, I'm going to create a new relationship from an invoice to my employees table. So I'm going to select add a FileMaker data source. That's going to be my personnel records. Open. There's a couple more tables in this one. We're going to add personnel. We're not going to put that. It's going to be invoices, personnel, with two N's. There. And I'll put salesperson at the end just to remind me that that's what it's for. And we'll create a relationship between those two. Salesperson ID. And I'm going to guess that employee ID is my unique key over in this side. Change. There we go. Let's go back to my personnel records. Let's create a couple of people inside. There's one record here already. First name, Salem, Amy, Salem. And notice it uses type ahead, which is very nice. Let's make another one. Phil Jones. There. Okay, we've got three employees. Let's go back to our invoices, and I'd like to add on the invoices a salesperson. Let's do that right above the notes field. I'm going to make this guy a little taller, pardon me, a little shorter. And then I'm going to drag down from invoices, salesperson, my salesperson ID, and I'll build it the same way I did before. I like doing things the same way. Consistency both for me and also for the users. And let's make this as wide as the other guys. There we go. And we'll change the name from salesperson ID to just salesperson. And just like before, we need to add a value list. So we're going to make a pop-up menu. We'll make a new value list. And this one's going to be salesperson. We're going to show values from our personnel file and employee ID. This one we're going to make some that is a seller always be selling. And there we go. And why doesn't it show up right there? I'm going to move on, and when I post this at the end of this, I'll make sure that that works. But that's not why it's not right now. What I hope that I've shown you so far is them to build upon either. You can take parts of a starter solution and you can put in existing solution, or you could use parts of starter solutions and put together something a little bit bigger than a whole. Now I'd like to change out some simple things to do that will enhance any database at all. The first one is that this is floated around the FileMaker space for quite a long time, but anytime I build a database where actually it doesn't matter if you're the only person using it or if it has multiple users, I always include an audit trail, some type of an audit trail. And this is one that I particularly like to build. Let's go to our customers file. Now this audit trail is built off of a custom function, and it's called UltraLog. And there's a link to it in the PowerPoint. At the end of the presentation, well, there it is, UltraLog, and you can go to this website, and it's a free download, and I would highly recommend that you grab it. Oops, okay. Well, that wasn't it. Okay, so let me show you what it is and how to use it. Manage. First thing we need to do is go to our custom functions, and I'm going to import the custom function. I happen to have it already on my desktop. The package that you download from his website is called 10 for 10, and the file is called UltraLog. It's a FileMaker 11 file, so you'll need to convert it into FileMaker 12. But that's just a drag and drop. So we are importing the custom function. There's only one custom function in this file. I'm going to select it and import it. Simple as that. Now my custom function is inside my new solution. Now, in general, I don't even look at how the custom functions are put together unless I have a problem. If you would like, you can walk through it and try and understand how this guy built this custom function. It's really genius. I wouldn't suggest it. So now with this custom function, how do we actually use it? What we need to do is add a field in order to hold our audit trail. So let's go to Database, Manage Databases, and we're going to add it to the customers file. The audit trail requires one field and one auxiliary field, and then also one field for the audit trail. Since this is a developer field, one that users typically don't need to look at, I'm going to start the field name with a Z, and the first thing I have to build is a timestamp field, mod timestamp. That's a timestamp. I'm going to create. And under options, we're going to put the modification timestamp. Automatically enter the modification timestamp. The second thing we need is a field to actually hold our modification log. And I typically call that Z mod log. And that's a text field. Text, create. Now here we want to auto-enter a calculated value. And we're going to use the UltraLog custom function. It's placed right in the list with all the other functions. The UltraLog needs three things. It eats three things. The log field, where do I put my information? The modification time, that's the field I just created, and a list of fields that I want to keep track of. So the log field is the mod log. modification time is this other guy that I just created. And the field is 2 carriage returns. And we're going to keep track of address 1, address 2. My rule of that I learned from a good student, anything that changes frequently. If you don't know what else to keep track of, if it touches money, it's a good idea to keep track of it. Now, this won't solve all of your problems, but the thing that I like about this function is it solves the problem. I'm looking at a record in my database, and gosh darn it, I know that guy's phone number was 123-1234. How come it's 123-8999 now? When did that change, and who changed it? That's the kind of question that this thing will answer. So anyway, there's my calculation. The two things to do that are important: uncheck box. This will make sure that the audit log will keep creating itself, and then also prohibit modification. This way I can't change it. I'll say OK. Now let's go here, and we're going to take the mod log, and we're going to put it on. Right? We're going to replace this notes field just for expedience. There. And actually, I'm going to take that label off, and we're going to make it a little wider. Typically, I would make my own tab for this guy. And now I'm going to change something on here. I'm going to change this number from a 3 to a 4. And then I'm going to make this a little bit wider. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so I can read the whole thing. There we go. Now, what it tells me is, and let's change this phone number again to 55. And what it tells me is this phone number at this date and this time, this user changed this field from 44 to 55. And if I change it back to, or change it to something else, poof. At this date and this time, this user, oops, I scrolled, changed the phone number from 55 to 99. This will someday save your sanity. So I put this in every single solution I ever do. I'd like to finish up with just one quickie thing, because I know I'm already out of time. And this comes up all the time when I'm talking to actual clients. I might be looking at this record, Bedwick-Jones record, for some reason. I'm going to open up a new window, and then I'm going to go to this guy's record. Here, let's pull this down. So now I have Jeannie Buckley's record right here, because maybe I'm comparing these two things. And I'm going to make another window, and this is going to be a list of all my invoices. Okay, here we go. Here's all my invoices. Now, I need to get back to Becky's record. Well, what do I normally do? I go to Window, and I say, oh, is it Invoices? Is it Invoices 2? Or is it Invoices 3? I can't remember. I think it's this one. No, this was Bedwick's. So that means I have to go back up here and go to number 2. This was Buckley. This was the other one I want to look at. So I wish there was an easier way to distinguish when you create new windows between the different windows. Instead of FileMaker automatically, in addition to FileMaker automatically just calling it Invoices 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the way I do this, and I've started adding this script step in almost every single solution I have anymore. We go to Manage Scripts, and it's really very simple, and it's not only a FileMaker 12. You can use it in FileMaker earlier versions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take About, I'm going to move it down, and I always make it the very first script using this checkbox. So it shows up in the scripts menu so it's accessible to the users. I make it number 1, the first one. That way they can pull it from anywhere just by using Control 1. Let me show you. You can guess what it does from the name, right? Renames the window. It's important to name your script so when you look at the name, you know what the script does. So what does it do? First thing it does is it grabs the name of the current window, get window name, into a field. It's going to show a dialog box, and then it's going to set the window title. Okay, so I'm on this window. I'm going to go to Scripts. There's my rename window. So rename current window. I'm going to rename this Buckley. I'll even spell it right. I'll say OK. And I'll go back to this one, and I'm going to say Control 1. Didn't need to move my mouse. Bedwick. I'll say OK. Now, if I go to my list of windows, I know exactly what each window is doing. I can look at Buckley. I can see that. Then I can go back to my Bedwick. This is a nice, very easy way in order to name your windows. Your users will like it. They'll love it, actually. I think I'm just about out of time, according to the big clock on the wall. Mark, what do you say?
I think it's time for some questions.
Excellent.
All right, I'm going to switch to speakerphone.
Okay.
I will run through some of these questions real quick. All right, sealed question log. Okay, so first, if you have the opportunity, could you show how to put an image on a button? Image on a button. Action is I will I'll insert an image, if this is what you want. Insert a picture, and let's go to Libraries, Pictures. I don't know if I have anything small enough.
Shrink it down, I guess.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's use that. No, let's pick a smaller one. Insert, where was insert? Insert, sure, Tom Cruise. Okay, everyone loves Tom Cruise. I'm going to make him small. That's my button. You're going to laugh, user. All you need to do is you right-click on the image, button setup, just like that. And now, 9 times out of 10, you're going to select a script to run your button. Very rarely, but once in a while, you'll pick something. Let's see, is there anything here that won't do any damage? Oh, rename window. That won't do any damage. And now FileMaker puts a little badge on it, so I know that it's a button. And there it is. There he is. I can roll over him, and I can say, rename this window. Cancel. Next.
All right. We've got a question about, was earlier on in the session, why do you create a second instance of the table in the relationship graph? I think that was talking about customer ship to, probably.
Okay. In the relationship graph, each one of these table occurrences is like an alias or a pointer to the table, and each one is related to the rest of the files or the rest of the table occurrences in a unique way. So this contacts table occurrence is related to the customers, or I would probably, to the customers table, using the relationship customer match field to company ID.
Right.
And this one is, even though it's getting the data from the same contacts, this one, from the same contacts file, the related information that it's pulling is much different. It's the particular ship-to address of that particular invoice. So this is the contact that's related to just this invoice, and this one are the contacts that are related to this one customer.
So two tables, but both with different purposes in the solution. True table occurrences, both with different purposes.
Right.
Okay.
Can they hear you? Your speakerphone on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, speakerphone's on.
Okay. Nod if you heard that.
Regarding value lists and relationships, in creating the value list for ship-to-ID, you selected show values from the second field only. So, since the name gets entered into the ship-to-ID number field, does that not interfere with the field's relationship with the parent file? So, that's actually a visual thing. It's not storing the name, it's just showing the name. So visually, cosmetically speaking, the user gets to see what they understand and know. But behind the scenes, FileMaker is very intelligently dropping the ID number into that field and then just masking it so all you see is the name.
Correct.
So here's a question about the renaming the window. Couldn't you pull a new title of the window from a field in the table that you were displaying? That's kind of what happens automatically, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Invoices 1, Invoices 2, Invoices 3, what we're doing is allowing the user to rename. But I guess the question is could you just name the window with the customer's name, for example, or the invoice number?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You can do that too. Many times in navigation, if you have a button that's going to bring up another window with more information, you might want to change the title of that window with information about what's inside the window. Absolutely.
There's a question about the invoice relationship graph.
Oh, wait, let me
sorry.
talk more.
Go ahead.
What you should definitely do that. What the script step does, what the rename window takes care of, is when a user goes in ad hoc and just on their own willy-nilly uses the new window command. So it gives them the ability to actually rename a window on the fly without your intervention. Okay.
So in the invoices relationship graph, what is the X relationship? So a relationship with an X character.
Okay, good question. Most of the time, when we are making relationships from one thing to another, for instance, from customers to invoices, we're using equality. This is the one you use 80–90% of the time. When the customer ID is equal to this customer ID, show me a record. FileMaker, starting with FileMaker 7, gave us the ability to use other things other than equality. You can say not equal to, greater than, less than, and then there's the X. The X is a little special. What it means is just relate everything in this table to everything in that table. Basically, it's a way to say make anything related to anything in the other table.
Sometimes referred to as a cross join.
That's why they use an X. Yeah.
And then can you show and leave up the link to Nightwing? I guess that's the UltraLog.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So someone wants just to be able to get there to the UltraLog.
There we go. Actually, So anyway, here's UltraLog. I would do a search for Nightwing, Nightwing, and FileMaker.
So that's nightwing.com.au. And then
Great
we've got
and the second technique, the window renaming, I posted recently about it in our Philadelphia FileMaker users group blog, and there's a link to that.
And just a question about the multiple solution files. How can you handle logins to multiple files?
Oh, that's a good question. In this solution, what we have done is use different files. Now, FileMaker will require you to log in to different files. There are two different solutions to this problem. The first one is to use single sign-on. This is actually very simple to use if you are set up to do it. That's a
FileMaker server feature?
It's a FileMaker server feature, and it uses your Active Directory authentication or your Open Directory authentication on the Mac. And what it does, it takes all of your credentialing, your logging in to FileMaker, and it actually removes it from FileMaker and lets it be handled by Active Directory. So you could just make a user group called FileMaker. Once someone logs into their computer,
they can log into all the files. Actually, it's very easy to do if you're already set up to do it. If you're not set up to do that, the other way to do it is to create a number of scripts. So when you create a user in one file, you ask the person what's your username, what's your password going to be, and it makes password, and it will create the files in all of the other files. And so basically it's a managed process. So when you create a new user, it will also make the user information in the other tables.
But it is true that FileMaker files, if the account and password are the same in all the files, that it knows and will log you in automatically to that next file.
Right.
As soon as a script calls it or a relationship tries to activate that file.
That's true. Yeah.
So can you copy and paste one solution into another? Right now, I guess the starter solutions are all separate files.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to, take the approach of integrating them, can you do that in a single file?
Yeah. Some of the starter solutions are a single table, and you might want to just take that table and copy it and paste it into your existing file. That's a great idea, especially for these single user things. You don't need to retype all of those fields. The only part that's a little hard about that is it's a little tricky to copy and paste layouts from one file to another.
Okay.
Actually, I should write a blog about how to do that.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
And you have to do it in a certain order, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a certain order. You have to name your file. You have to name the table occurrence in your mother load, in Invoices in this case, with exactly the same name as the starting point. And then you can copy everything in, and all the fields will remain pointed. After everything's copied in, you can rename your table occurrence, and everything will just flow from that. But yes, you can certainly do that. The more layouts there are, the trickier it gets. This is just a nice, quick, and easy way to integrate them just by creating the links from one file to another.
All right.
Should we talk about the next?
Yeah, we'll talk about the next FM Academy webinar coming up, which you can find information on FileMakerAcademy.com. It will be FileMaker Server Beyond the Admin Console, presented by Alan from Skeleton Key, and that will be November 15th, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. So I guess Eastern Day.
We'll see you then.
Yep, very good. Thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to another FM Academy session. Thanks again.
See ya.